25th Amendment, Part 4, the Hur Report. Contradiction. Picture a president who can't remember when he served as vice president or when his son died. Federal prosecutors say his memory is too impaired to prosecute him for a crime, yet that same man controls nuclear weapons. This isn't a made-up scenario. This actually happened. It created a contradiction that exposed a potentially fatal flaw in America's constitutional system. This is Part 4 of the 25th Amendment series. If you're just joining, catch up as soon as you can. Part 1 explains how the amendment was created to fix presidential succession and disability issues, and how the amendment's sections 1, 2, and 3 have been very effective. Part 2 shows how Section 4 may be misused for political purposes, such as when Illinois Governor Pritzker called for President Trump's removal over policy disagreements. Part 3. Documents. President Biden's observable physical and mental decline from 2021 through 2024. The falls, the confusion about deceased people, and the disastrous debate with President Trump that forced Biden out of the race. This Part 4 of the series points out the contradictory and incompatible conclusions based upon a single set of facts and the failure of the 25th Amendment's Section 4 to maintain a competent finger paused over the nuclear button. This part of the story begins with discoveries of classified documents in Joe Biden's garage and elsewhere that set in motion a special counsel investigation. The investigation produced the Hur Report, which concluded that Biden's memory was too impaired to prosecute him for a crime, yet he continued possessing and exercising presidential power. Such circumstances are incompatible. Nevertheless, the situation arose, highlighting the second of two problems with the 25th Amendment's Section 4. One Section 4 problem is potential political misuse by partisan politicians, such as J.B. Pritzker, as covered in Part 2. Part 3 discusses the public evidence of presidential impairment, and this Part 4 covers the Special Counsel investigation and report. The combined evidence is that Section 4 failed to protect America from an impaired president at a moment of actual need. The question arises, what reforms could fix both problems? Can Section 4 be redesigned to work when there's real presidential incapacity and limit potential political abuse? Leave your thoughts in the comments section. Part 5 of this series explains why the 25th Amendment's Section 4 failed and ways to demand change from Congress. It's time to examine the background and evidence from Special Counsel Robert Hur's report that should have triggered action by the Vice President and Cabinet under Section 4. On November 2, 2022, Biden's personal attorneys were packing files at the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement, a think tank in Washington, D.C., that Biden had sometimes used as an office. While packing, they found classified documents in a locked closet. Joe Biden had been vice president from 2009 to 2017. Documents found by the lawyers dated back to Biden's time as vice president, including top-secret sensitive compartmented information. That's some of the nation's most highly classified material. The attorneys immediately notified the National Archives and turned the documents over. That wasn't the end of it. On December 20, 2022, Biden's attorneys discovered a second set of documents at Biden's home in Wilmington, Delaware. Then on January 9, 2023, the lawyers and FBI found several more. Most of these were found in Biden's garage. Think about that. Highly classified documents, including intelligence materials and briefing memos about Ukraine, Iran, and the United Kingdom, were being stored in a residential garage. On January 12, 2023, Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed Robert Hur as special counsel to investigate if Biden had improperly handled classified documents. Hur had been appointed as a U.S. attorney by President Trump. Garland's choice of Hur to investigate Biden provided an appearance of independence. Hur was to investigate possible unauthorized removal and retention of classified documents or other records and violations of law. Hur spent over a year investigating. He interviewed Biden, reviewed documents, and examined evidence. In February 2024, Hur released his report and stoked a constitutional crisis that nobody wished to acknowledge. Special Counsel Hur investigated whether Biden had violated the Espionage Act by intentionally keeping classified documents as a private citizen. The act makes it a crime to willfully retain documents containing national defense information without authorization. Hur found evidence that Biden had done exactly that. The investigation proved that Biden willfully kept and shared classified materials after his time as vice president. The documents included classified materials about Afghanistan and notebooks with Biden's handwritten notes about sensitive intelligence matters. The documents went back even further. FBI agents found documents with potential classification markings from 1977 to 1991, that's when Biden was a senator, stored at the University of Delaware. The agents also found classified documents from his Senate years in the 1970s and 1980s in his garage. As a senator, Biden had no legal authority to remove classified documents from secure facilities. Even if Biden had some classification clearance while Obama's vice president, he had no authority to keep classified documents after he left that job. Special Counsel Hur decided not to prosecute Biden. Among Hur's reasons, one really stands out. Hur wrote that if this went to trial, Biden would likely appear to a jury as a sympathetic old man with a bad memory. Hur opined that it would be tough to convince a jury to convict Biden of a serious crime that requires proving Biden did it on purpose. Hur said Biden's memory was very limited during his 2023 interview. Biden couldn't remember when he was vice president or when his son Beau died. These aren't small details, these are huge life events. Hur decided that because of these memory problems, a jury would probably have reasonable doubt about Biden's intent to break the law. A basic legal principle is that criminal intent is determined when the crime occurs, not decades later. Biden initially took documents as a senator in the 1970s and 1980s, without legal authority to possess them outside secure facilities. He took more classified documents when he left the vice presidency in 2017. Back then, Biden had been mentally sharp enough to be vice president for 8 years. Not only is bringing classified documents home a crime, but keeping them without authorization is an ongoing crime. Every day Biden retained those documents in his garage and office was a continuing crime. Memory problems during the 2023 Hur interview have nothing to do with whether Biden possessed criminal intent in the 1970s, 1980s, or 2017, when the documents were taken, or during the decades after as Biden continued to keep them. Instead of prosecuting based on the evidence, Hur created an affirmative defense for Biden. That's a legal term worth understanding. An affirmative defense is when a defendant admits he broke the law, but claims he has a legal excuse that prevents him from being found guilty, like insanity or self-defense. Asserting an affirmative defense is typically the job of a defense attorney. Hur created Biden's excuse rather than simply evaluating evidence of criminal conduct. While Hur was excusing Biden's conduct, another Justice Department special counsel, Jack Smith, was actively prosecuting former President Trump for similar allegations involving classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. Both special counsels worked for the same Justice Department, investigating the same type of crime, but one was building a defense for the man he was investigating. The Hur conclusions carried ominous implications. Proof of criminal intent requires showing a person understood what they were doing and chose to do something illegal. If Biden's mental state was so poor that a prosecutor thought no jury would believe he could form that intent, what did that say about Biden's ability to be president? The mental abilities needed to form criminal intent are much less demanding than those needed to be president. A president has to look at complex intelligence reports, make instant decisions about military action, handle delicate diplomatic negotiations, control nuclear weapons, make life and death choices for the whole country and possibly for the world. Yet, as Hur was documenting Biden's serious memory problems, he was commander-in-chief of the armed forces, getting daily sensitive intelligence briefings, making decisions about troop deployments, and was the final decision-maker on the use of nuclear weapons. Hur concluded the memory of the President of the United States was too impaired to be criminally responsible for illegally having classified documents. That same man, Joe Biden, continued on as president with full powers. Hur reported a dangerous situation that office holders with constitutional authority to act upon chose to ignore. If Biden's mental capacity was too limited to form criminal intent, to understand he was breaking the law, how could he possibly have the capacity to be president? Section 4 of the 25th Amendment was designed exactly for this kind of situation, when a president can't do the job but won't step down. The Hur Report should have triggered immediate discussions involving Section 4 of the 25th Amendment. The evidence was clear. The stakes couldn't be higher. Yet Vice President Harris never moved to invoke Section 4, and the cabinet took no action. Why not? Political shelter for lack of action by Vice President Harris and the cabinet was supported by withholding evidence from the public. Special Counsel Hur had made audio recordings during his October 2023 Biden interview. Hur's report was published on February 8, 2024. The written transcript of the Biden interview followed on March 12, 2024. After the transcript was released, the Biden administration fought aggressively to conceal the related audio recordings. When House Republicans subpoenaed the audio in early 2024, Attorney General Garland refused to turn it over. On May 16, 2024, President Biden formally invoked executive privilege to block the release of the recordings. The House of Representatives responded by holding Garland in contempt on June 12, 2024. The Department of Justice refused to prosecute Garland, and he never complied with the subpoena. In May 2025, Axios obtained and published the audio recordings, more than 3 months after Biden left office on January 20, 2025. This timing does not appear accidental. Biden was safely out of office when the audio became public. During the crucial months of 2024, when Biden was still running for re-election, when the disastrous June debate with Trump would force him out of the race, when Vice President Harris and the cabinet had the constitutional authority to invoke Section 4, the American people could only read Hur's characterization of Biden's memory problems or a transcript of the interview. They couldn't hear Biden's voice struggling through that interview. They couldn't hear him unable to recall when he served as vice president or when his son died. While Hur's written report and interview transcript were damaging, the audio of Biden's pauses, confusion, and halting replies revealed his cognitive decline as undeniable and impossible to dismiss. Concealing the audio until Biden left office protected more than Biden. The audio cover-up shielded Harris and the cabinet from facing the difficult 25th Amendment constitutional decision. Had those audio recordings been made public in February or March 2024 along with the report and transcript, the pressure on Harris and the cabinet to invoke Section 4 and designate Harris as acting president would have been enormous and immediate. The Justice Department successfully concealed the audio until Biden was safely out of office, politically protecting Biden, Harris, and the entire cabinet from confronting a constitutional mechanism designed to safeguard the country, not the politicians. The American people were denied compelling confirmation of presidential incapacity during the exact period when that evidence mattered most. The 25th Amendment's Section 4, ratified in the aftermath of the Kennedy assassination, with a principal objective of maintaining a steady hand on America's nuclear arsenal, failed. The potentially fatal flaw in America's constitutional system was exposed. The contradictory circumstance of an individual too mentally limited to be legally responsible for his conduct was holding the office and power of President of the United States. This endangered not just the United States, but all of humanity. Next, Part 5 examines why Section 4 proved completely useless when America needed it, and reveals the political incentives that made the existing constitutional solution impossible to use. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching. Please like this video and share it to be part of the work to combat constitutional illiteracy.